Welcome to another episode of FESS. On today's edition, I am joined by Miss Soma Njie. Now, you may know her as the artist that you hear her lovely voice, but she is also working with the Female Lawyers Association Gambia. And at first, let's see what's on health and fashion.
False nails. While false nails applied properly should pose little risk to your health, long-term use or using cheap acrylic or poorly fitted nails can damage the nail bed, lead to fungal infections between the false and the natural nail, and lead to natural nails coming off altogether. Furthermore, some nail salons use acrylic nail products containing the chemical MMA, which has been linked to respiratory problems and severe allergic reactions. Reports have also suggested that overexposure to the ultraviolet lamps used to fix artificial nails can also increase risk of skin cancer.
Smart Spaces, your real estate experts making all your housing dreams come true. We are getting bigger and even better. Now, we have moved to our new office at Paradise FM building at Pipeline. Now we are closer and our service will only get better. For more information, call us on 222-1122.
890-6855 333-1133.
Smart Spaces. Smarter choices.
Welcome back from Health and Fashion. Now, joining me right now is Miss Soma Njie from Female Lawyers Association Gambia. Welcome to FESS, Soma.
Welcome.
It's an honor. Now, first, I knew you as a singer, but you're no longer an artist.
No.
Why is that?
Well, I really enjoy singing. It is definitely one of my passions. Love music, but really, my career-wise, what I'm really into doing is law, legal matters, helping people that maybe aren't in a position to help themselves, and also fashion within Gambia.
Is that what you studied? You studied law in England then?
I did, yeah.
Okay, now coming to Gambia, was it quite a culture shock for you, or you've been traveling back and forth?
Well, I've been travelling back and forth ever since I was young. Mum and Dad have always spoken Wolof in the house, back in the UK, and we've also always made sure that we kept in contact with family. We came back pretty much every year or every other year on holiday and made sure we pestered our aunts and uncles every summer. So we've always kept close. I mean, it was a huge difference. It's taken a lot of adjustments to change the pace of life and even getting around, making my way around. But it's
See, I know a lot of people abroad basically do not feel the need to come back home after they've studied. Why did you decide to come back to the Gambia?
Personally, I think they're missing out on one of the best experiences you can have. I think, why bother going out if you're not going to contribute to the society that we're from? There's certain things that you can get from being in Gambia, that's being close to your relatives, being close to your own people, and being able to put something back. I think one of the great things is having an education abroad is to come and apply that here. I just think, why not? Even if you're not necessarily going to come back to live forever, spend a little bit of time to get to know the Gambian you.
Now, when you were coming to Gambia, did you have the intention of being a lawyer, or you wanted to go straight into the music industry? See, I asked that because everybody know that we don't have an industry, if we're being honest. So why did you decide to come head in and try that first?
Well, what happened was I studied law, and having finished my law degree, I did do quite a few other jobs as well as working in a law office. It was more that I was waiting for the right opportunity to come along, and my first 6 months really was an extended holiday, if I'm going to be honest. Getting back into the swing of things, getting to know where I was, reacquainting myself. And one of the things that I did, I was listening to the radio and happened to see a signboard for Sing with Afrocell that was on the way to my house by traffic lights. So it's basically like the number to call in on. My little cousin, who lives with us, was like, yeah, why didn't you call in? And it was all kind of like a really random series of events that ended up with me doing it. I loved the experience, it was fantastic, but it wasn't really a planned career move.
So it just happened.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I guess if you have the talent, it's easy to just fall back into it, right?
So.
That's
Of course,
true.
you know,
Everybody
watch out
knows
for
you're
my
talented,
single.
so you don't have to humble yourself at all.
Thank you.
Tell me, I know it can be quite challenging. So what was the main thing that made you think, you know what, forget it. I don't want to do the music anymore.
Yeah, I think one of the major things was that I had opportunities in law, first of all. I also saw that, again, as you said, the music industry and also the fashion industry is at quite a fledgling stage when it comes to making a lucrative career from it.
Mm-hmm.
There's opportunities available, but I think the business minds in the music industry aren't collaborative enough to make artists have the money that they deserve for the effort that they need to put in. And I think also certain attitudes amongst a few people in the industry are seriously inhibiting people's earning capacity. I know it's quite contentious to say, but I think we're a long way in our thinking, in our work ethic, and in our collaborative efforts to open that industry that there is in, you know, people look at the US industry, but in Nigeria and Ghana, people are making huge amounts of money as artists.
I agree, because I've had the president of the Gambia Music Union here before, and I've had another artist here before that said the same thing.
Yeah.
And even one of the biggest artists in the Gambia right now also quit music just because of the business side of it.
Absolutely.
But if it is something you are all passionate about, why aren't you just doing it for the sake of doing it?
Yeah.
I'm not naive. I know that studio time can be expensive, but I'm sure there's producers or ways you can contribute without it having to be all about business.
Absolutely. I think, unfortunately, some of the artists are in it for the fame and not in it business-minded. You turn up late to a rehearsal, you're not being business-minded. Jay-Z, any of the Nigerian artists, they respect time. You can't be like, Gambian time, I was hanging with my friends. That's not the attitude to have. Also, things like paying backing singers is something that they don't do. You get what you pay for in life. And unfortunately, if you're not willing to take some of what you make and invest it into your business, i.e. into the people that support you, the editing, the production, there's not going to be an industry. It's going to be one person receiving a bulk amount that if you don't apply it in a business way, that amount's not going to last for long. And I think it's the reinvestment.
Wait, when you say
industry.
one person receiving a bulk amount, you mean there's an unfair distribution?
There
of
is.
funds?
It's very unfair, I think. I think sometimes it's promoters. It depends on the on the individual. Like from my personal experience, I've seen artists that fund themselves entirely. You're not going to make much money at the end of it because there's no outlets for sales. Sometimes promoters are the only ones making money. I think it's judged unfairly because if you're the person doing all the effort, i.e. wrangling people who aren't willing to turn up on time, providing bands, which is one of the huge expenses that people don't usually account for, you're going to end up being... I think it's kind of, we need to sit down together, have a rethink and have people genuinely invested in the industry rather than invested in themselves. And I think that's going to really produce some fantastic results.
Soma, tell me this. You sound like you're very knowledgeable about the industry. What are you doing to help in that business side of it instead of just, you can back out as an artist,
sure,
but when it comes to getting the industry to run, do you have any plans of actually helping in that department?
Absolutely. Like at the moment, where I'm working at Flag, it's not about remuneration. Even though I work as sort of in the legal sector, if I was in a position I was better off, I'd probably sponsor artists or sponsor the recording of an album or, you know, helping in some way. However, I think kind of you can dedicate your time, you can dedicate your effort. What I've done, because I love music so passionately, and I do believe in a lot of Gambian artists, that with the right guidance and the right help, that they can make it. So I've done things like collaborated with writing. I've given my time as a backing singer for free. I've, you know, contributed where I can. And I think if more people were that way minded, that we could do some fantastic things here.
But as a lawyer, have you thought about perhaps giving somebody free legal aid?
Which I do. And Flag, as the Female Lawyers Association in Gambia, that's what we do. Basically, our main work is providing legal aid and legal services for women and children in the Gambia. A lot of people are saying, you know, what about the services for men? But I say to them, if you don't have a daughter, a mother, a child,
Probably would not exist.
then, you know, if you don't want to help them, really, you don't deserve our help. So it's kind of about redressing the balance. So really, any female artists out there that want legal aid, if you can't get it yourself, we can surely help. So
now, speaking of flag, I know your job probably requires you to travel a lot of places in the Gambia.
Yeah.
What has been the experience for you? Because I know it's not something you're used to, seeing the rural areas in Gambia.
Absolutely. I mean, that was a really new thing. I'd seen a few because my dad's really passionate about animals, and sometimes, you know, we'd go, it's more a day trip, but to really kind of, one of the things that I love about my job at FLAG is that we spend a lot of time in the CRR, around Soma, Dankunku, Nyaminas. I love it. It's kind of being immersed in another culture. It's shown me that I've got a lot to learn about the languages, a lot to learn about the culture, a lot to learn about the difficulties that people are going through. It's kind of rural life is so difficult. I've got so much props for the women who live and work there. And they're so warm and welcome. And I know that sounds a bit patronising, saying, you know, they're so like, they're so kind to us city folk.
You have to be honest.
Yeah, but I find that there's neighbourhoods in the Combos now that people don't know their neighbours. Like, you know, with me, I'm always lost. I'll be knocking on a door nearby and be like, Hamga Kirfi, Njie Kunda, or Sise Kunda, and people will be like, no, I don't know, and they've lived next to each other for years.
Yeah, but I think the reason why that happens is because they migrated, you know?
Yeah.
If you were all living in the Combos before and you moved to, let's say, if you're all living around Westfield and you moved to Bruceville because the new place, you're all random people coming, so you didn't really grow up together.
Definitely.
So perhaps at your age, you might not have seen people that know each other then, but the kids that are growing up, they'll get to know each other. That's how
true,
it
actually, because I'm quite guilty of that at our house. If someone comes knocking and asks for, you know, a neighbour a couple of doors down, I might be like, oh, let me think, and my cousin will be like, oh yeah, they're, you know, living down there. So you're right, actually, yeah that's true.
Now let's talk a bit about the management work you do with Fashion Week in Gambia.
Sure.
Yeah, I know it's been it's a yearly fashion event. So what exactly is your role in Fashion Weekend?
My role in Fashion Weekend, basically, I help the main management team. That's myself, Adi, and Lena. And Lena's the co-founder of Fashion Weekend Gambia, and really like one of the main faces. That's the person that everyone recognised. But we work all year round for this 2-day event, working really, really hard, getting sponsorship. Getting promos for all our designers, for our models, venues. I mean, you were with us last year.
I was.
It was hard toil, but so worth it. Like a day before, we're like, we're never doing this again. And by the time the last designers walked, we're like, high five! Can't wait for next year.
I remember that energy. Yes. That's true.
It's fantastic. It is great. And it's wonderful doing something for the Gambia, because one of the main things that I love to promote and push is the fact that, you know, Gambians can do for themselves if the private sector, like in the UK, like in the US, the private sector sponsors individuals or sponsors institutions that are willing to coach people. Because I think, again, back to the music industry, that's one of the things. Business isn't something that comes naturally. There's a lot of hard work, getting a great team together. And if you've got a great producer, but you haven't got someone to help you write songs, or you've got a great natural voice, but you haven't got anyone to really coach you to bring out the best in recording or for an hour-long set, you're going to fall short and look like you're not putting in as much effort as someone who's maybe in Nigeria making money and has this fantastic team ready to hand, ready to get everything done for them.
It took a lot of money to get
and it's
together.
A huge team that's involved. I mean, we've seen some of the entourages that have come for the visiting artists, and like their shows, you're like, wow, you know, they've got choreographers teaching them how to move, to be engaging, to be entertaining, and these are people who are specialists in getting that done. You know, hair, makeup, what you're wearing, how you talk.
Now wait, let me ask you this. Now, as an artist, and you're also involved in fashion, and you're also a lawyer. Now, one thing that's not common in Gambia is that when you are an artist, especially when you're a woman artist, yeah?
Yeah.
And you want to also do a different type of profession, first of all, we don't give them as much respect as they deserve. So now you also are a lawyer. Do you feel that people don't take you as seriously because they know you as an artist and you also want to represent them when it comes to law?
I think it's two different worlds, because the type of work that I actually do for FLAG is training of women on legal issues. What we do is we use the Women's Act, the Children's Act, laws that are already in place, even Sharia law, telling women, you already have this. I kind of feel myself as a bit of an empowerment coach. We're telling them, go ahead and do what you know is right. Respect other people. When you're talking to your husband, it's not, you know, sometimes a little bit of conversation goes a long way. They then realise that you actually have an opinion. We're telling them, if you have an opinion on something that's going on in your local area, in your community, stand up and say, be at the meeting, don't be there putasurek or putachuni or sol sentishati.
Okay, so you don't deal with corporate people a lot, whereas you might they might
absolutely.
judge you based on your
I think that would be absolutely different. But Gambia is a small community, and actually I find it probably would be easier to bridge both here than in the UK, for example, where if you were trying to do both at a certain level, people would kind of be like, which are you?
Yeah, but I think it's going to be hard because, first of all, the entertainment side is not really part of our culture as much.
Yeah,
it's quite
I think that's
much,
a major
maybe
difficulty.
a tribe or a sect, I will say,
absolutely.
but it's not something that it's quite given the what can I say?
Trying to cross across from one from one caste to another is one of the difficulties, I think, as well. And like, you know, we've got a rich tradition of singers and songwriters, and actually some of the best singers and songwriters, and I think they're hugely, hugely undervalued, are like, for example, Aida by Abun Fafa. The way they work really inspires me and lets me know that, in fact, you are more than capable of forging a career in the Gambia here. I think the dedication to their art, the way that they craft songs, the way it's not like you write a song today, before you've even had a chance to like really see whether those lyrics are exactly what you need to do, bam, yobungako. Costing is one of the reasons why people are worried that, like, you know, you've got $1,000 right now, someone's willing to produce it, producers do the same thing overnight, and then it's out. So you've got an unfinished song being put out, and as a paying customer, I know what albums I pay for in the UK, for example. Here, even the artists that I do support and I do love, I go to them and would buy their album.
See,
but there's no easy way. I can't just click and, you know, iTunes, there we go. Though it is changing. I mean, I know that there's a good few artists who are making sales and starting to make sales, but again, to get to where you're going to be like top of the charts, where more people are going to hear about your music, there's a whole marketing team behind how they do things.
System
so it's about us collaborating effectively.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a marketing industry, there's a sales industry, fashion industry, there's makeup artists, all of these people, but there's kind of that you don't find them in under one house. Yeah, it's difficult.
Not linked.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of work to do. So Soma, what do we expect from Soma and Njie next?
Oh, well, a holiday, hopefully. That would be fantastic.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yes. That'd be really nice.
Yes.
That'd be really nice.
Well, we thank you very much for joining us on FESS.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And that was Miss Soma Njie. Coming up next is Lubes.
Sidati Fall, commonly known as Pakotel. The versatile Senegalese rapper, 835, who lived in Yombol with his family, died last week Saturday, the 11th of July. The rapper who rose to stardom in the early millennium, who was so humble that he chose the name Pakotel as his artist name, meaning cheap junk in French. Fame and money never get to his head, and he prefers the simple mode of dressing, all through his very successful career in music. That's all we got for you on Lubes this week. See you next week. It's Mariam Jara.
Thank you for joining us on another episode. Don't forget to join us again next week. Same place, same time. See you soon.